Hi guys and girls on YouTube, and welcome to my channel. If you watched the video I put on last week, you'll remember I did a repair on this Fidelity CTV14R fitted with the ZX2000 chassis. Now I've been to see a friend of mine, and he used to repair TVs a long time ago. He's been repairing TVs far longer than I have, and he's amassed quite a collection of sets, and I've been round to see him and I've managed to get a few sets off him. So in this video we're going to be looking at an older TV than this, a 12-inch. Right, so this is the telly we're going to be looking at. It's a 12-inch and it's a National. Now this seems to predate the time when it was called National Panasonic, and later they dropped the National Panasonic and they just rebranded it Panasonic. So I would think this is sometime in the 70s. But to be absolutely sure, I'm going to look out the service manual. Now it's quite a long time since, I think the last time I repaired one of these was in the mid 1990s, and at the time it had a chip. I needed a chip. I think it was something like an AN247, and it was no longer available. It had a sound fault or an intercarrier fault, and the chip was no longer available. I had to build up a circuit board with a different chip on and fit it to the set. So, you know, if you couldn't get parts 25 years ago, we're unlikely to be able to get anything now. So this might not actually turn into a repair. This video might be just a looking at video, because these sets have already been looked at in the past. If I just put it down, there's a sticker on the top and it appears to say frame. It might say frame collapse, that. Or it might say underneath line scan. I can't really read his writing. So let's just take a quick look at the back, and then we'll get the back off and have a look inside. Right, so that's the rear view of the set. It is actually very, very dirty, but if we manage to get this going, I think it should clean up all right. Let's just zoom in there, and then we'll take the back off. Have a look what it's like inside. I mean, there's even a possibility it might have parts missing, I don't know, but let's have a look inside first and see if I can find the service manual. I've got a good idea where the service manual is, but it might take a little time to look. Right, well that's the set, that's the chassis out into its service position, sitting onto these runners. One's actually broken off. So let's take a quick look round before we do anything else. That's the chrominance panel. You can see the subcarrier crystal and the delay line there. That I think is the IF stage. It's just as dirty in here as it is on the outside. Power supply, that seems to be up there in the corner. Now I can see it has had some work done. If we look at these two controls here, horizontal hold and vertical height, they've both been changed, so it does look like a frame or a line fault might be on this telly. That's the frame output transistors at the back. Focus control. I'll just put the camera down, turn it around, and we can have a look at the line transformer. That's the line output transformer there, lots of wires coming out of it. 3 transistors there. That one says trace, that one appears to say reg. So what these are. Right, so I think what we'll do is we'll just reform up these caps first, and then we'll see what happens when we turn it on. Right, so sometime later I've actually found this service manual that I used to use all them years ago, together with some handwritten notes on the front. And coming back to these strange little TO66 devices now, they mark S6080. Well, I wasn't just sure what they were when I took the back off, but I can actually see now it's a thyristor. These are the thyristors. It's a thyristor line output stage, a bit like the Normende 3787 works on the same principle. So let's just take a quick look. That's the circuit diagram with some more handwritten notes. Yeah, we're halfway there. We just need to reform the caps and plug it in now and see what happens. Right, so as you can see, the two caps are all reformed, ready to go. What I'm doing with a hairdryer is I'm just getting a little bit of warmth into this set because it's come from a damp cellar and it's probably been stood there for years and years. So we'll just give it a little bit of a warm up and then we'll plug it in, see what happens. Right, so we're ready to go. I've just moved the TV to a different bench because here we're on an isolation transformer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it on there so it can actually stand well back. So here we go. Ooh, better turn it off quick. So we've got uncontrollable volume and a frame fault. And it also looked like the brightness wouldn't turn down. Right, so it turns out the volume fault is just a dodgy control. But the brightness won't turn down, the contrast won't turn down. And also we have a partial frame collapse. And also the picture seems far too bright. When you leave it on for a few seconds, it seems to heat the shadow mask up with the beam, the excess beam currents heating up the shadow mask. Till the purity starts to change. So it could be we've got two different faults, or the two faults might have one common thing. So let's just stop the camera and I'll take a look. Right, so let's start with a high brightness problem first, and this is my first port of call. The video output stage HT supply, which is here. And this is only, I'm struggling a bit because this is only a photocopy and some bits of it are missing, but the HT supply for the video output stage also seems to be linked in here to the automatic beam limiter, and that would explain why we've got a high beam current. Now the chances are it's going to be that capacitor there that's dried out. That's the smoothing for the HT rail to the video output transistors. If that falls in capacitance, then the picture will get brighter. So let's have a look. C564. Let's take that out first. Right, so that's the capacitor out. I don't even need to test that because when you look underneath, you can see it's been leaking electrolyte and it's all manky. Now that is... it's actually 85 degrees, it's made by Panasonic, 10 microfarad 250 volt. So we're going to replace it with another Panasonic capacitor. Now this is a 105 degree, it's 10 volt 400. So as you can see, the difference in size between the old 250 and the new 400 volt, you can see miniaturization taking place. So let's pop that in and then turn it on again. Right, so that should cure the brightness fault. That is, you can see what I've changed there, it's C564. Now if we move down here to the frame, this is not as bad as what I thought it originally be, because the frame output stage, it's constructed with all discrete components. It doesn't actually have a dedicated frame output IC, so that's really good news. But I've just noticed something else which we'll come over to. Right, so as I said earlier on, these two controls here, what's that, horizontal hold and vertical height, they've already been changed. But I've just noticed if we move further down, that's one of the frame output transistors. That looks like it's been desoldered. And we move further down to the other frame output transistor. You can see somebody's had that out because they've damaged the print putting it back in, and that's what these two bits of wires are for. So I think what we're going to do now is, now that new capacitor's in down here for the video output stage, we'll put the set down, switch it on, see what the picture's like then. Hopefully it shouldn't be as bright now. Right, so here we go. I'm going to switch on here again. Oh, look at that! That's the brightness. It appears that changing that capacitor has not only cured the brightness problem, but it's also cured the frame problem. So the 180 volt rail for the video output stage must also be used for the frame output stage, because we've cured both faults with changing one capacitor. Let's see if we can get a signal into this telly. Right, so let's give it a tune in. All these controls are still very noisy. As you can see. So we're going to have to come to that after, but let's just see if we can get... I've got it connected to a skybox now. Let's see if we can just display a picture first.
That made me thought, oh really? We're all coming back to the sunshine. Oh my goodness, if it's gone. Oh, no,
Yeah, well, it's got in there. It just wants the vertical hold adjusting, but I'll have to stop the camera and put that down. I can't hold this at the same time. Right, so we still have some sort of a problem because I can't lock the picture in the vertical direction, and also the controls at the end of its travel. But here I've noticed that even with the brightness full up, the picture's not very bright. So I think that cap's been failing for a long time, and to reduce the brightness, somebody just kept turning the G2 control down. So let's just, if I can do this and hold the camera at the same time, let's just grab the G2 control and see if we can brighten that picture back up. Right, so now you see with plenty of brightness. So I think I'm going to have to stop the camera and just check the vertical circuit now to see why it won't lock. Right, so I can't get the vertical circuit to lock, but if I just twiddle the control, yeah, you can't actually see it on the camera, but I do have, let's see if I can stand back and have a look. No. I do have a locking position there, but we've got a black band down the middle. Now you can't actually see what I can see on the front because the camera won't resolve it. But if I just check here with my scope, the vertical ramp generator, I know it's a long time since I repaired CRT TVs, but if we look at that, the vertical ramp frequency is only 25 Hz. Now I seem to remember it should be 50 Hz, so that's why we've got a flickering picture and a false lock with a band through the middle, because for some reason the vertical generator is running at half the frequency it should be. So I'm going to have to stop the camera again and think about that. I'm wondering if it's something to do with these controls that have been changed. Perhaps somebody's put the wrong ones in. Right, so we read the technical description. It says, during the period with no sync signal, the oscillator operating frequency is determined by capacitor 405 discharge time, which is set to approximately 45 Hz. That's with no video signal. So C405, I presume that must be the problem, because that sets the frequency of the frame oscillator. And it's not very clear, this, but it appears to be that one there. So let's swap that for a new one, see what happens. Right, so that's C405 out. It's a little tantalum. It appears to be 47 microfarad. Let's try that. And it says that's open circuit or low capacity, so let's just put a new one in there and see where we go from there. Right, now I don't have a 47 mic tantalum low leakage capacitor. I've only got these are 22, but they're not going to be no good. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to put an ordinary 47 mic electrolytic in. Of course there could be some frame oscillator drift when it warms up, but we're just going to have to take that gamble at the moment. Right, so guess what? That's made the fault even worse. So I think we're going to have to think about getting the right cap in there. Right guys and girls, so after a bit of faffing about, I've realised where I've gone wrong. This cap's very small. The diagram's very hard to see, but that is actually 0.47 microfarad, not 47 microfarad. So I couldn't find a tantalum one. I've just put, for the test purpose, I've just hooked one on the back of the board. As you can see, the frame's speeded up now. So let's just see if we can do this at the same time. Probably not. Let's just check the frame frequency now. Right, so we need to adjust that to 50 Hertz. Right, so I'll just prop that up while I get my scope clipped on. There we go, and just adjust that 50 Hertz now. Right, so that's set for 50 Hertz. Let's take a look at the picture now. And there you go, we've got a perfect lock now. So let's get the colour bars off and let's get a picture on this set. Well, that's the result. Look at that. I've put a bit of switch cleaner in the controls.
Do they think it draws a contrast with the Prime Minister? Remember, Boris Johnson was, of course,
that's a result. Let's just have a quick look in here. It's got what they call magic line tuning. I think what you do is you press a button and then a green line comes on and you make the green line smaller and that tells you when it's on frequency. So there we go, and then you adjust, which one are we on, this bottom one, you adjust the tuning till that green line goes as small as possible, and that indicates it's on frequency. So we turn that off. What a picture on that for probably a 1970s TV.
Heart-wrenching sacrifices. People were left desperately lonely. They were separated from family and friends. Tragically, many were unable to see dying loved ones. This was a collective sacrifice. People were entitled to expect my mother-in-law passed away suddenly just before the lockdown. My wife and I
He's given me the fun task of creating a little bit of New Orleans under the pergolas. And I'm going to be making these globe hanging baskets because in New Orleans they've got this amazing architecture which is all based on this wrought ironwork and on these huge 3-storey townhouses.
Let's just take another look at the back.
Stuffed with ferns and ivies and loads of plants that like tropical humid conditions. So we want to bring a little bit of that to Chorlton. So because this hanging basket's going to be out in the garden without its own water source, it's going to need to be watered quite frequently.
Needs a good cleaning there. I might do that in a few minutes, and then
a couple of teaspoons to a small amount of water,
whoa,
first into the pot rather than mix them in with the compost.
get it all back together. There is a knob missing there, which is a bit of a shame, but at least we got the front flap on.
Crystals like these are readily available and cost around a tenner.
So my water.
We're designing for young people.
Right, so there we go, guys and girls. What do you think about that? That is the National TC-361GM. And there's the 2 old capacitors out of it.
White small boxes.
On the other team, they're also working out how to make the most of their small student studios.
What I've kind of come up with is an idea of a kind of flexible, adaptable, modular room. So in order to do that,
I have just give the case a little bit of a clean, but it does need quite a bit more attention. And the Mainsley is also very, very black, as are my hands. Alright guys and girls, many thanks for watching my channel, subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next video then.
I've got, in my opinion, some of the competition's better people within my team. So I feel we're going to have a good week this week. This is a